Hello everybody, this is Kiran and today we are going to learn about test estimation. So as we know, the test planning and estimation is a major section or phase of the STLC. So we should actually learn in-depth knowledge on how to estimate any test. Now, we'll move forward. Here's the scope and what is estimation. Now, if you remember the STLC flow, it started with reviewing your requirements, then actually creating a document called test plan. So in that phase, the second phase of STLC, you actually need to estimate your entire work and then come up with a documentation which is called test plan. But here today we'll learn how to estimate first, and then you'll be actually creating the test plan documentation. So here, what is test estimation? What all we estimate and how to estimate, all these pointers will be covering in today's session. Test estimation is done by the leads and managers in the project. So as QA lead, you might need to do this work, but being a junior or senior QA or tech arc or QA automation engineer, manual tester, you have to know how it is estimated so that you get an idea on actually what is being calculated and how your work will be evaluated, and what all is planned before you actually start working on. So it's very important to have an idea about these pointers. Also, as QA lead, certainly you need to know this. Now, test estimation is any management activity which you are performing to find out few factors, which is like how long the task would take, what all you have to estimate, what all resources you have to actually count. And so why test estimation? You have to answer these two questions. One is like how long will this testing take, and second question is how much cost will it take. So what all includes the costing calculation is what to estimate. You have to estimate the resources, you have to estimate time, amount of time needed, the human skill sets, and the costing. So resources includes hardware and software which will be required for completion of that activity. It can be paid softwares or any technical hardware or the entire environment setup. So whatever resources you need for carrying out the activity will be calculated or termed as resources. Time is the amount of time which will be required by each member in the team to complete any set of activity. Human skills are the knowledge set your team is having. So let's say your team is equipped with only manual testing. Then you need to hire or outsource human skills who are good or who have knowledge on automation. So let's say you have skill sets who are equipped with only Selenium, but you need to use some other automation tool like Qtp or Cypress. So in that case, you might need to hire or train your testers on that particular skill sets. So that also need time and money. So you have to know what skill sets you have in your team, how much you need to add, how much you need to develop, or maybe you need to hire. So all those calculations must be understood. Costing is important because as manager you have a particular budget which you can spend on a particular project. So you have to calculate the cost of your project before actually starting on with it. So costing is also calculated. So let's move forward in the session and see what more we have. So the same pointers have been explained. You can have a look here. So resources are required to carry out any project or tasks. They can be people, they can be equipment, facilities, funding, or anything. Time is the valuable time which is required. Human skills, of course, the knowledge and the experience. And the costing is about the budget. Moving forward. How to estimate? Most important question. What all methods will be applying to estimate? So very well known method, work breakdown structure. We'll talk about it in detail because it's a very interesting and important concept to know and learn. So how to estimate, will start with work breakdown structure understanding. Then there is something called 3-point estimation and functional point estimation or functional point method. So these are the 3 good ways of estimating your efforts. So the best one will start with work breakdown structure. Here, what you do, I'll come back to the slide in a while. I'll just quickly explain you work breakdown structure so that you relate to the previous slide. Here what we're doing, we're breaking down a bigger project into smaller modules and tasks. So what we're doing, there's one project which you have to actually complete. Now you break them down into modules. You take one module, module 1, and you further break it down into sub-modules. You can name them tasks, subtasks, anything. But your logic or your understanding on this model of breaking down any work into pieces and sub-pieces is to get that done. So if you're breaking them down into such smaller pieces, which is workable entities, let's say there's a big project, you broke it down into modules. Now you took one module, concentrated on it and broke it further into sub-modules. You took the other sub-module and broke it further into tasks and subtasks and distributed it amongst the team members to start working on it. So if it's a small piece of work, it's easy to work upon. Now imagine if I give you a task and ask you to complete it within 10 days. Now you might feel scared. It's a huge task and it's a 10 days task, and you might feel scared to start on the work. You might be confused on how to start, when to end. So it's the best way to break it down into smaller pieces. So once it is broken down, in 10 days are broken down into 3 days sections. Now you take one 3 days section and you break it further into 1 day section. Now you take that 1 day section and you break it further into hourly sections. That okay, today in 2 hours I'll complete this much activity. So once you finish that 2 hours activity, now you will do another 2 hours activity, combine it. Now you are done with your 4 hours activity. Similarly, you will be doing 8 hours activity and you're done with your 1 day's activity. And you don't know how fast the work is happening. You're so gladly moving forward, doing all, collating all pieces together. And one fine day, after the 10th day, you'll see that, okay, yeah, I have completed the entire project. So that's how our mind is programmed, that we tend to get scared on larger chunks of work. And when it is broken down into smaller pieces, we see it as achievable. We work towards achieving it. We see, okay, it's just 2 hours task. I'll quickly do it, finish it off. But if you see, okay, I have 10 days, so I can wait. So that's how human minds are usually programmed. So that's how the best process and the best technique or in any project is to break it down into smaller modules and sub-modules until the time it is actually a workable entity and it's easily doable. So it's a very, very important concept, guys. You have to understand and start applying it. So that is followed in most of the software projects. We break down work. When we learn Jira, we'll see how we break down bigger project into smaller subtasks and distribute it amongst the team members so that they can start working upon it. So they can log their works accordingly and they can actually submit the reports to the managers. Right? So that's about work breakdown structure. Moving forward, I'll go back to the previous slide which I left. So after how to estimate, we have 4 steps to arrive to an estimate. These are the 4 different steps. So basically we have to divide the whole project into smaller tasks, smallest task. Allocate each task to the team members, as I said. So relevant people who are equipped in that particular domain knowledge should be given that piece of task. We have to estimate the efforts required to complete each task. Now, when you have the smallest piece of workable entity, you have to actually estimate that effort, that how much amount of time is required to complete the small piece of task. Now, once you know that, once the tasks have been submitted, the efforts have been submitted by the relevant team member, you have to validate that estimation too, that the estimation which has been submitted is correct or not. The proper estimation has been done by the teammate or not. It might be possible that they estimated it as 4 hours and you think it can be done in 3 hours, so you can suggest methods of doing it fast. And let's say they estimated it to only 1 hour and you think no, it needs 3 hours, so you can explain them that I don't think this is a good estimation done by you. You might need more time. So as manager, you should know and have an approximation of the efforts made by your team members, and you can have to validate them and make the right suggestions to them at the end. So these are the 4 steps. We'll move forward. So first step is dividing the work into tasks, subtasks. Okay, so this is the method, let's say we apply here. There are 2 more methods, but we'll read about it later on. So we'll first complete these 4 steps, starting with first step, which is dividing the whole project into smaller tasks. So we're dividing it into entire project into smaller modules and sub-modules. Okay, already explained. Second pointer. Okay, before moving on to second pointer, which is about allocating each task to the team members, we will be learning on understanding this example. So let's say you have your STLC steps, right, which is analyzing the requirements, then creating test specifications, executing the test cases, and reporting the defects. So all these tasks we will break down. Let's see how we break it down. So let's say tasks are analyzing the requirements. So analyzing the requirement will be broken down into subtasks like we'll investigate the software requirement specifications, SRS, what we get in the beginning, and then we'll also interview with or talk to the developer and the stakeholders, and we'll know about the business flow of the software. So that's how you can analyze the requirements. It has been broken down into subtasks which can be allocated to relevant team members, and the work can start progressing. But since it was only analyzing the requirement, it would have been tough to start working on what to do. Similarly, the second task, which was about creating the test specification or writing the test cases, we have to first break it down into writing test scenarios, second creating test cases, and third is reviewing and revising those test cases. So what we have done here is we have broken the entire test specification phase into subtask. Third activity, which is executing the test cases. Now executing the test cases you have to first set up the environment, then actually execute the test cases and review the execution results. So what we are doing, we are actually breaking the bigger activity into tasks and subtasks. And then last activity is about reporting the defect. So we can break it further into creating the defect reports and actually reporting the defects. So basically what we're doing, so in the defect the reports, we are marking the actual results as pass and fail. So that is one part of this activity. And the final is creating a report wherein actually you are mentioning, okay, these many test cases are passed, these many are failed, these are not yet tested, and these bugs have been marked. So that's about breaking tasks into subtasks. Moving forward, so going back to this diagram, we have divided the whole project into smaller tasks. So that's what we have done. We have actually done step 1 so far. So what method we applied? We applied work breakdown structure, and using that we broke our STLC tasks into subtasks. Now we'll allocate it to the relevant team members. Let's go to step number 2. Here we go. So what we are doing, we have taken the task, we'll allocate it to the members. So the first task, which is analyzing the requirement specification, will be done by all the members in the team. So QA lead and all the other testers will be actually analyzing the specification. So everybody can come up with their own suggestions and we can do further planning. Creating the test specification will be done by the tester or the test analyst. Anybody in the team who is into the testing activity will be doing the test case designing step. Building the test environment will be done by the test administrator. Admin guy will be actually doing the test environment setup. Execution of the test cases will be done by, again, either the tester or anybody, the test administrator maybe. And reporting the defects will be done by tester. So we actually identified the skill sets, and based on that we'll assign the task to the relevant team members. Same can happen in the development team, same can happen in the product team or UI UX team or any other team. So basically the idea is to understand that the relevant skill sets, a person holding a relevant skill set should be given a relevant task. The third step is about estimating the efforts. So if you go back to the slide wherein we allocated the task to each team members. Now we'll estimate the effort. So we'll ask the team members to actually estimate their own efforts, and then we'll validate. So they will estimate the effort. So these effort estimations can be done by two techniques. One is functional point estimation and one is 3-point estimation. So we'll understand these two techniques now. We'll see functional point estimation. What we do here is we measure the size of the effort required using 3 factors. One is size, duration, and we find out the costing of the entire project. So size, duration, and costing are the functions based on which the entire calculation is done. So what we do, we first estimate the size of any task. So we have already broken down the entire project into task and subtask. We have to find out the size of the task. Now, how do we find out the size of any task? We first categorize the entire task into complex, medium, and simple genres. So the functional size of any task depends on the number of functionalities that particular task is covering. So suppose one task is covering multiple number of functionalities, it will fall under the complex category. Similarly, if it is covering lesser functionalities of that application, then it will be considered into the medium category, sized category. And if any task is covering very less functionalities of that project, then it will fall under the simple category of the size. So that's how, once you segregate it into complex, medium, and simple sections, you can calculate the size of the tasks. Now, moving forward, now you have to estimate the efforts. So let's say you have chosen a complex functional point project, and you have to calculate the total effort. So total effort is equals to total number of functional points, the total modules of the website. So let's say we had some 20 modules. So 20 is the number of functional point, and the second parameter is estimate defined per functional point. So each functional point, how much effort it is requiring. So we have to find out the average effort based on this calculation. So total functional points you can calculate easily based on the number of point division of the task, and estimate per functional point. So it's a simple sized task. It will have a certain amount of hours associated with it. Similarly, the medium will have a certain number of hours associated with it. Similarly, the complex will have certain number of hours associated with it. So we'll multiply each and then add to find out the total number of hours needed. So efforts will be calculated, and then we'll multiply it with the number of functional points available, and then we can find out the total effort. So that multiplication is available here. So we actually find out the estimate of that particular task. Now the last is calculating the cost of the task. Now so let's say the average salary of your team is X dollar per hour, and you have already known that for a particular task what is the efforts you are applying. So let's say it is Y hours. So costing will be X into Y hours, that is equals to Z dollars. So that is how you will be finding out the using functional point estimation for estimating the costing of your projects. So based on size of the project, which will be decided based on complex, medium, and simple segregation. Then there is duration, which will be decided amongst how much effort is needed. So that will be decided a total number of functional point into estimate defined per functional point. And the final is costing, which will be decided on when you find out the efforts, you will be multiplying it with the average salary of your team, and then the final costing of the project can be found out. So that's how you use functional point estimation. The second way of estimating is 3-point estimation technique. Here your manager will give you an Excel or any documents where there will be 3 columns: best case estimation, most likely case estimation, and the worst case estimation. So in the best case estimation column, you have to fill in the efforts which you feel you require to complete the task in the minimum time possible. So let's say you feel that, okay, I can do the testing of this particular module in just 2 hours. So that is the best case estimation, where only 2 hours is required. Now let's say most likely estimation is an average out estimation, wherein you feel that yes, I should keep some extra hours so that there is no hurry in completion of the project. And the final is the worst case estimation, wherein you will put in more hours based on looking at the length of the task, or the worst case can happen that there is a blocker, there is a bottleneck wherein you're not able to do, so you should keep some extra hours. So the worst case estimation is also required. So basically these are the 3 estimations which you need to fill as a member, and your manager will require these to calculate the efforts further. So these are the 3 estimations which you need to provide. Now let's say the best case can be where the team size is huge, or maybe there are more talented people. The most likely is when everything is averaged out, maybe the team size is average and the talent is also mixed. But the worst case can arise when there are less experienced people, I should say, more than talented. So if there are only freshers, so we should have extra time for them to learn and then work. So all these factors are considered before actually estimating and planning any project, because you need to have all the factors calculated, because you cannot just move forward with the working without even knowing that how much time is required for each member to complete their activities. So these kind of matrix helps us analyze and do an approximate planning of the project. So 3-point estimation and functional point estimation. Finally, we have to validate the estimation. So all the team members who have provided their estimation, their estimations will be validated by the higher management and they will be approved. Then we'll start working. So let's say you have given that, okay, fine, I need this much of time. So your manager will be reviewing it and they will come back with the suggestions that yes, I think you need more time here, or I think you have put in more time, you should be able to complete it in a lesser time. So it will be validated, it will be given a go ahead, and then you'll start working on it. So that was all from the test estimation session. We'll meet again in the next session with more topics. Thank you.